Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our March Planning Advisory Committee meeting. We're pleased to have you out and taking an interest in the business at hand. So without further ado, we'll get right into the agenda here, and I will ask for any disclosure to pecuniary interests, the general nature thereof, from any members of the committee. None noted. Thank you. And I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda of March the 21st.
Sure.
Councillor Quinte, Councillor Kotsovas. Any questions regarding that? If not, all in favor? All carried. Thank you. And now ask for a motion to approve the minutes of February the 15th and entertain any questions or comments or errors that you might have found in those minutes. Motion to receive. Councillor Card, J.D. Brown. Any errors, omissions, questions regarding those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, the public meetings will be conducted in this manner. The public meetings are prescribed under the Planning Act. The public meetings are conducted as prescribed by Section 3413 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended for 2 zoning bylaw amendment applications affecting land in the Murray Ward, one official plan application affecting land in the Trenton Ward, and 3 zoning bylaw amendment applications affecting land in the Sydney Ward, and 2 zoning bylaw amendment applications affecting land in the Trenton Ward. The meeting will be conducted in the following manner for each of the applications. First, I will identify the application being considered, and then I will ask planning staff to outline the application being considered. Then ask if there are any members of the public who have registered in advance to attend and participate in the meeting and have any questions or comments regarding each application. If there are no public comments and questions, I will ask the committee if they have questions or comments. And once committee questions have been addressed, the committee will consider and vote on each application. If you wish to provide comments, please state your name and address for the record prior to addressing the committee. This committee has been delegated the responsibility to conduct public meetings as prescribed under the Planning Act, and a full report of the meeting's proceedings will be submitted to City Council on Wednesday, April the 17th, 2024. Council will make the decision on each stated application. Anyone other than the applicant who wishes to receive further notice of Council's decision on the application, each application must submit a written request for notice of Council's decision to the Director of Planning and Development Services. I will now ask the Director of Planning and Development Services, please advise the committee on how the notice of these meetings will be given.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to the committee and members of the public. Notice of the applications being considered this evening were given in keeping with the provisions of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 as amended, by first-class mail on March 1st, 2024, and posting of signs on the subject properties on the same date. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now proceed with the first public meeting of the evening, which is 7.1, Staff Report 24-028 PD, a zoning bylaw amendment application. The owner is Mark Gingrich. Agent is TD Consulting. The location is 525 Foxborough Sterling Road. The file number is D09/S02/24. Katie, would you like to outline this application, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the purpose of this application is to rezone the subject lands from the agricultural zone to the agricultural exception 30 zone. The rezoning would permit a truss manufacturing facility as an on-farm diversified use within an existing building on the subject property. The existing building is currently used as a riding arena. On-farm diversified uses are defined in the provincial policy statement as uses that are secondary to the principal agricultural use of the property and are limited in area. On-farm diversified uses include, but are not limited to, home occupations, home industries, agritourism uses, and uses that produce value-added agricultural products. On-farm diversified uses are required to be located on a farm, be secondary to the principal agricultural use of the property, be limited in area. They can include but are not limited to home occupations and home industries, and shall be compatible with and not hinder surrounding agricultural operations. The applicant's agent has submitted several documents to support the proposed rezoning, including an agricultural impact assessment, a functional servicing report, and a planning justification report. On-farm diversified uses are not currently permitted under the agricultural zone. The agricultural exception 30 zone would include special provisions in order to ensure that the use remains secondary to the principal agricultural use of the subject lands. As no new building or structure is proposed as part of this application, the existing setbacks for the indoor riding arena would also be recognized. Ultimately, the approval of this application would allow the property owner to operate a truss manufacturing facility on the subject property under the parameters of an on-farm diversified use. This proposal does not result in a loss of any farmland on the subject property, and the overall character of the immediate area would remain relatively unchanged visually, as the existing riding arena is to be reused. The on-farm diversified use would help to enhance the existing farming operation by adding a new economic activity. Overall, the application meets the intent of the provincial policy statement, the city's official plan, and maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. This application is recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have anyone in attendance other than the applicant who would like to speak in favor of this application? Do we have anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Or any general questions? Please come forward, state your name and address at the podium, please.
Hi, I'm Renee East, and I live at 501 Foxborough Sterling Road.
Okay, what's your address, ma'am, so we can have it for the record?
501 Foxborough
okay, thank you.
Sterling Road.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just a little concerned with the proposed truss manufacturing facility. It's really the outdoor riding arena that's there right now is really close to my property line, really close to my house, my hot tub, that sort of thing. So I really just had concerns about like the amount of noise and equipment and machinery, the comings and goings of staff, that sort of thing. You know, I can't necessarily say that I'm opposed. I don't. You know, I have questions regarding, you know, the amount of peace this is going to disturb on my property.
Okay. Well, I'm sure the applicant or their consultant will maybe have some answers, but I'll go see if there's any other concerns, and then we'll ask some questions, and they can maybe fill you in on what the operation will look like and what might be entailed in that. Okay. So, okay. Okay, anyone else that has questions or opposition to this proposal and application? Hearing none, would the applicant or the representative like to come forward and address any of the concerns that the lady had?
Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Okay, go ahead. Yes,
And
go ahead.
Everyone's able to hear me? Fantastic. So my name is Nick. I'm with TD Consulting, and I'm the applicant for this file. I can appreciate, Miss, that you might be concerned about any undue noise or disturbance to your property. However, I can assure you that all of the activity is going to be contained within that facility. It really is quite a small operation that's going to be operated by the owner of the property and up to maybe 1 or 2 staff. It's not, again, it is a use that is secondary to the agricultural use of the property. And so I understand that you might see this as being a larger facility in which there would be trucks or machinery. But again, it really is a home occupation that's going to be operated by the owner himself and 1 or 2 staff. But if you have any specific questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. And this goes for anybody in the audience as well, and especially council. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your attendance. Ma'am, do you have any further you'd like to bring forward, or? And I'm quite sure the applicant or the representative would be more than happy to set up a meeting with you and maybe have I guess a guided tour or a better explanation maybe that sometimes you can't always do here other than looking at a map, I guess, and your neighbor and things sometimes are a little different than what it is in reality on a map and what have you. So are there any other comments or questions or opposition to this? If not, I will now ask the committee to consider the application, and the recommendation is to approve, and I will entertain a motion and any questions or comments. Mr. Edison, move it. Yep. Wait a second. Yep. Councillor Quinte, any further questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We now move to staff 7.2, staff report 24-29 PD, zoning bylaw amendment application. The owner is DeWall Homes and Construction. The location is across from 314 Stockdale Road. The file number is D09/M05/24. Katie, would you like to also comment on this application, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this rezoning application is a condition of consent application B20/23M, which was granted by the Committee of Adjustment on April 13th, 2023. Under the consent application, the Committee of Adjustment conditionally approved a 1.79 hectare lot. The purpose of this application is to rezone the severed and retained lots from the rural zone to the rural residential zone. In addition, a portion of the proposed severed lot would be rezoned to the environmental protection zone to recognize a wetland present on the subject property. The rezoning would bring both lots into conformity with the city's zoning bylaw. Overall, the application meets the intent of the provincial policy statement, the city's official plan, and maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. This application is recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have anyone in attendance who wishes to speak in favor other than the applicant at this time? Do we have anyone who wishes to speak in opposition or have general questions? Would the applicant wish to speak? Okay, seeing none, committee, I would ask that you consider the recommendation as presented, and it is to approve, and I would entertain a motion. I'll move by Mr. Brown, second by Gerard. Any further questions or comment? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We now move to staff 7.3, staff report 24-030 PD, a zoning bylaw amendment application. The owner is Brian Sign. Location is west of 236 Fish and Game Club Road. The file number is D09/S07/24. Madison, would you like to address this application, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair. This rezoning is a condition of consent application B9/24S, which was granted by the Committee of Adjustment on March 14th, 2024, in which one new 0.9 hectare lot was created. The purpose of the zoning amendment is to rezone the severed parcel from the rural zone to the rural residential zone to bring it into conformity with the city's zoning bylaw. The retained parcel will remain in the rural zone. The approval of this application will facilitate the development of the subject property with a residential use at a future time. Overall, this application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, the city's official plan, and maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. This application is recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much, Madison. Okay, do we have anyone in attendance who wishes to speak in favor of this application other than the applicant? Anyone in opposition or have general questions regarding this application? Would the applicant wish to speak? Seeing no one, committee, I would ask that you consider the recommendation, which is to approve, and I would consider a motion.
Sure, I'll move the
Moved
motion.
by Councillor Quinte, seconded by Gerard. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We now move to item 7.4, staff report 24-031 PD, zoning bylaw amendment application. The owner is Dave Scott Hollage. The location is 832 County Road 5. The file number is D09/M08/24. Madison, would you like to address this also, please? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair. This rezoning is a condition of consent application B41/22M, which was granted by the Committee of Adjustment on September 8th, 2022, in which a 0.76 hectare parcel of land was severed for the purpose of lot addition. The purpose of the zoning amendment is to rezone the lot addition lands from the extractive industrial exception 1 zone to the rural residential exception 82 zone. Implementing this zone would prohibit any future development of the lot addition lands with any dwellings or structures to prevent the encroachment of non-compatible uses on the aggregate operation. The retained lot would remain in the extractive industrial exception 1 zone. The lot addition lands are not designated for aggregate use in the official plan, nor were they used as a part of the aggregate operation. These lands are used as an extension of the residential property already, so this amendment would formalize the existing use of the property. This application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. This application is recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much, Madison. Do we have anyone in attendance other than the applicant who wishes to speak in favor? Anyone in attendance who wants to speak in opposition or have general questions? Would the applicant wish to speak? Geez, that's something new for you. We appreciate it, though. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, committee, we have a recommendation here to approve the application. Moved by Mr. Brown, second by Councillor Kosovas. Any further questions or comments regarding this? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We now move to item 7.5, staff report 24-032 PD, zoning bylaw amendment application. The owner is Royal Estates Holding, Inc. The agent is GSK Consulting, and the location is 18 Edwards Street. The file number is D09/T09/24. Madison, again, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair. This rezoning is a condition of consent application B7/23T, which was granted by the Committee of Adjustment on February 9th, 2023, in which one new 370 square meter lot was created. The purpose of the zoning amendment is to rezone the severed parcel from the residential type 2 zone to the residential type 3 exception 27 zone to permit the development of the site with a duplex dwelling and a second dwelling unit with the following special conditions. Number one, a reduction in the number of parking spaces from 5 spaces to 4 spaces. Number two, reduced front yard soft landscaping from 40% to 32%. Number three, reduced parking lot setback from the front lot line from 1 meter to 0.9 meters. Further, this amendment would rezone the retained parcel from the residential type 2 zone to the residential type 4 exception 14 zone to permit the development of a 6-unit apartment dwelling with the following special provisions. Number one, reduced front yard soft landscaping from 40% to 17%. Number two, reduced side yard setback from 7.5 meters to 5.2 meters. Number three, reduced rear yard setback from 7.5 meters to 5.5 meters. And number four, reduced parking lot setback from the front lot line from 1 meter to 0.7 meters. The approval of this application would result in the opportunity for residential intensification in an established residential neighborhood. It would promote the efficient use of land and provide additional housing options for the city. This application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, the city's official plan, and maintains the intent of the city's zoning bylaw. This application is recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have anyone in attendance other than the applicant who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Anyone have any opposition or general questions regarding further questions, I'll put it that way, regarding this application? Okay, thank you. Seeing none, would the applicant wish to speak? Okay, thank you. Committee, I would now ask you to approve the recommendation as approved, and I will entertain a motion and any questions. Councillor Kosovas moves, Councillor O'Neill second. Any further questions from the committee regarding this application?
I just have one question.
Okay, Councillor Quinte, please.
On the illustration for what I believe parking for the duplex, it looks like the parking lots or the parking spaces are running parallel to the street. So how does the second vehicle access their spot, or do we know yet?
Staff or like
Are they going to drive across? Do they drive into the parking lot of the apartment building, or is there like an entrance some way and then they turn in?
Okay, Greg, would you come forward, please? Maybe you can explain it.
My name is Greg King. I'm the agent for this application. So both those parking spaces will be assigned to one apartment, one unit, and they'll have control over both parking spaces. So if one car needs to move, they'll be living in the same unit. Is that the duplex you're referring to?
Yeah, where on the illustration, on the illustration it shows the 2 parking spaces between the duplex and the street. And I'm just wondering, how do the vehicles enter because how does the second vehicle get in and out? So you're saying that those 2 parking spaces are for one unit?
So the duplex, the unit on the left of the drawing,
Yes.
there's 2 that run
Parallel to the street, or what appears to be.
So the two parking spaces closest to the street?
Yeah.
Right,
So how does the second car get in and out?
so there's enough room to hammerhead, for example, so they can pull in, they can back up towards the building and then pull out.
Okay.
Both of those parking spaces can do the same maneuver.
So if they own a great big suburban truck, it's going to be exciting, but if they have a normal small car, it'll be easy peasy then.
Well, the parking spaces do meet the zoning
Yep.
requirements for size.
All right, thanks, that's all.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, it's been regularly moved and seconded. All in favor of the recommendation to approve? Carried, thank you. We now move to item 7.6, Staff Report 24-033 PD, a zoning bylaw amendment application. The owner is St. Leonard's Community Support Prevention and Residential Services. The location is 178 Leicester Road. The file number is D09/S10/24. Katie, would you like to address this application, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this application proposes to amend the City of Quinte West zoning bylaw and applies to land owned by St. Leonard's Community Support, Prevention, and Residential Services, located at 178 Leicester Road. The subject property is currently within the residential type 3 zone, which allows for a variety of residential uses, including a group home. The proposed residential type 3 exception 28 zone would add emergency housing as a permitted use within the special zone. The addition of the emergency housing within the residential type 3 exception 28 zone would allow for St. Leonard's to provide temporary housing services for youth who are experiencing homelessness within the community. The residential type 3 exception 28 zone is a site-specific zone that, if approved, would only apply to 178 Leicester Road. Group home and emergency housing uses align very closely together, and in this case, the subject property will ultimately have both uses within the same building, with both being run by St. Leonard's. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, the city's official plan, and maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. This application is recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have anyone in attendance other than the applicant who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Do we have anyone in attendance has any opposition or general questions? Please come forward and state your name and address. Well, whoever wants to be the spokesman, as long as we don't get too repetitious, we will listen to anyone who wants to come forward and state your name and address, please.
My name is Grant Hare. I'm at 57 Freedom Crescent in Trenton.
Brian?
He's through, Mr. Chair. It's been advised that I believe the applicant does have a presentation. Perhaps you want to make that just so that the public can hear the presentation.
Watch that first.
Prior to
Okay,
making the
sure.
comments, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, so if they so wish, please come forward.
Evening.
Good evening.
We have a clicker for the power. Thank you. Oh, perfect. Thank you. So it is my pleasure to be here tonight on behalf of St. Leonard's. My name is Kelly Nolan. I'm the executive director, and I've been with St. Leonard's in Trenton for approximately 25 years. We have stayed mainly under the radar because we work with youth in conflict with the law. And although they are youth who are in need and very vulnerable, we look to support where we can. We have found in the last 5 years that the price of housing and everything else that's going up is causing a hardship to place youth back in the community after they're done their sentence. In our work with just sort of researching the data locally, we found it is just not youth in conflict. It's youth leaving all sorts of care systems. So we put together a proposal to supply to Hastings County in order to start looking for a property that would allow us to look at transitional housing. So basically, we are a registered charity. We've been in the community for 40 years. We amalgamated in 2020 with a community service organization in Belleville who works with youth as well, but they're not in custody, but they are at risk of becoming custody or just as involved. The property of 178 Leicester, I could not have taken the work that we've done for 5 years and found a better property. This property lays exactly as we'd hoped it would. It would allow the basement of the previous church to be the transition space, which would provide 4 bedrooms, an open concept living dining room, and a kitchen and washroom and laundry facilities. These are not for youth because they've got nowhere to go. These are youth that are going to be intaked with a goal in mind. We believe that education is the way, and we hope that they'll go to school, maybe possibly to college, maybe high school to finish, maybe they will go to the trades. They will have a path forward. We will act as the pseudo-parents for those who don't. As a mother of 2 grown children, you don't just open the door at 18 and say, best of luck. What's important is that we need to have those supports in place so they have somebody they can call when times get tough. We owe our community good, solid citizens who know how to be good tenants, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't know how to do that. The upstairs would allow us the opportunity to get some youth off the street. Maybe they're not ready, maybe they're contemplative of change, but what we can allow them is a warm bed, something to eat, and someone to care. This won't be coming from the road, you just won't check in. We will be a referral based. We have run Hamilton Road location for 40 years and we do care well. We appreciate our neighbors, we have good support systems, cameras, staffing, and we do things that include our neighbors. Our neighbor across the street had an accident. They needed the footage from our camera to show the police. That's what we do. We would be there 24/7, and we would be looking after our property and maintaining it so that everybody else's property can be maintained as well. We know that 41% of all youth are homeless at the age of 15. Those numbers are just the facts. The fact is that most of the homeless youth do not have work because they have no experience, no education, and they lack the skill. They just don't have or never got. The whole purpose of this added addendum to the zone would be allowing those people to come in at night, not sitting up at the church, not just wandering the roads in the cold. Be able to support them, and if they need to see a doctor or if they need to get help, we would have the staffing to help them get there. What we aren't is what people are worried about. We're not a drop-in. We're not an encampment. We're not looking to have people coming and going like the wind. We will have a very strict policy on who comes and goes. We are not a hub. We are not an injection site. We're not addictions and mental health treatment. We are people who are going to help our youth move forward in the best way possible. We want to be transparent. We want to be a team player. We want to be a neighbor. And we would hope to create an ad hoc committee that would help us get there. We just want an opportunity to show you what the good work we can do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Okay, now we can entertain any comments or questions from the audience. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name's Grant Hare. I'm at 57 Freedom Crescent. Just for clarity, that is 5 houses in front of that location. I'm actually a little disappointed in the perception of the image that was there. That does make it appear to be kind of very rural, kind of all on its own. That is not at all what it appears like in reality in our street. I have no doubt that what St. Leonard's does is very beneficial to the youth. I want to point out I have 4 children of my own, one who is 17 and graduating high school, so I do understand the troubles that they go through, and that isn't necessarily what I'm opposed to. What I'm opposed to is the location. Being in the middle of a residential community, I feel that there's other locations that could potentially give them the exact same results that they're looking for without creating the concern, for example, that is behind us, which is all in opposition of this same thing. That specific location right there is, and sorry, I'm actually 4 houses away. 4 houses away from a daycare that is run in my home by my wife. That location, the entrance to the parking lot is actually the school bus stop for all the kids coming and going, high school, elementary school, that kind of thing. The concern that I have isn't that it's a drop-in center, it's that even if you haven't had issues in the past at other locations, every new person that you're bringing in has its own reality. So there's no way to guarantee what is going to happen within the community. I was not aware that it would be people coming in at night. I thought it was going to be a residential service where people who are there are staying there. So that brings up a little bit more concern for me as well. I just don't believe that in the middle of a residential community is the best location for something of this nature. And I know that not everybody here may come up and stand up. We've all spoken within our community as well. So I don't know if anybody here is in favor of what I am saying or how I'm speaking. So if you don't plan on coming up, please just raise your hand. Let me know. But again, it's not against St. Leonard's at all. I believe what their work is probably phenomenal, and I just don't believe that our neighborhood is the place, or the one on Hamilton Road. And I don't want this to sound like not in my backyard, because that's not what I'm saying. I don't want it moved to somebody else's residential neighborhood either. The one on Hamilton Road is at the very end on the outskirts, near the farmlands. Yes, there is a neighbor and maybe one across the street, but it is not a location where kids are playing outside on the street, where everybody's walking around and enjoying their family time and having to have that concern. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Is there any other one in attendance who'd like to address this? Please come forward. State your name and address, please.
My name is Richard Michelle. Last name's Machell. I am at 47 Freedom Crescent. Just like what you've just heard, we have a lot of the same concerns. I'm going to kind of tilt it just a little bit. One of my other concerns is also property value. We are very sympathetic to the cause, absolutely. However, right now houses are going in our neighborhood for $600,000 to $700,000. What's going to happen when that home opens up? When people come in to buy our homes, when we're ready to sell or whatever, it's a lot of military, so there's a lot of coming and going. What's going to happen to the property values? That's very important. That's equity. That's our nest egg for retirement. I'd like to know what's going to happen with that. My wafers reached out to a counselor in Sydney Ward. He stated it was a conflict of interest. I'd also like to know why. I totally understand if you guys are on committees and stuff like that, but the transparency is lacking. As far as the transparency goes, there were renovations going on in that church, and we had no idea what was going on until recently when you guys put up the signs, and then the St. Leonard sign went up. We were being left in the dark until we had this committee here. We'd like more transparency. We have many complaints with Sydney Ward over the last couple years anyways, as far as transparency. So we'd like that addressed as well. Also, back to the cause of St. Leonard's. Like, once again, we're very sympathetic to the cause. My daughter is 26. She still lives with us. We understand the cost of living. However, when we have something like this open up in our community, I'm also worried about the safety. I'd like to see stats, other St. Leonard's, facilities. Has there ever been any incidents? What's happened? What's the turnover rate? I'd like to see what happens. I don't want to infringe on anybody's freedom, but are they allowed to roam our neighborhood? We just don't have enough answers yet. And once again, we just need more transparency. This is, once again, if you came down our road, Freedom Crescent, it's an old school neighborhood now. Everybody, all the kids in the summer are playing on the street. There's road hockey, there's basketball. We don't want to lose that. We don't want to have to worry about property damage. There's just so many unknowns. And to just go walking our dog, and there's the sign just popped up right there. It almost sounds like it's a done deal already. We pay a lot of taxes in our neighborhood. Once again, a lot of people, look, it's just not right. And once again, I'm sure any one of us here would love to help St. Leonard's with their cause. I would donate my time. It's not about that. If they want help, come to the neighborhood. Unfortunately, to have it in our neighborhood, there could be risk. There's higher risk. We all move there for a safe reason. I have friends in law enforcement. lots of credit, you know, to Freedom Crescent and the surrounding areas, the safety of it. We have very little incidences. We'd like to keep it that way. But once again, there's a lot of stats that we don't know, and it sounds like a done deal. And unfortunately, it's come to this. So we just want to be heard, and hopefully we can get some answers.
I can speak to one of your concerns. The counselor in question is Counselor Boyce, and he's not here tonight. He is an employee of the Hamilton Road site.
Okay.
And so that's why he does have a conflict, I'm quite sure.
I understand.
But that's for him to declare. But my fellow counselors here, we all know that. And so I don't think there's any secret, or he would want any secret in that regard. So that's up front. But
Yeah, that wasn't presented in the email, so thank you so much.
Okay.
Appreciate
So in that regard, then the other we'll have to consider and listen to, you know, any more presentations here, and then I'll leave it to committee. But I do want to emphasize that this is a staff recommendation. This committee, whatever way this committee votes is not necessarily a done deal, because it still has to go to council, as I stated earlier, in April. So this is just a recommendation from this committee to whether it'll move forward or not.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come forward? Please, yes, ma'am, come forward, please.
First of all, I hate speaking in public, but this really hits me. My husband and I are both ex-military. We both have PTSD. We left Kingston because crime rates were going up. We were in a great neighborhood, and all of a sudden they started opening up little homeless communities. Tents start going up, crime starts going up. So we left a year and a half ago to come to Trenton, sorry. And we found our perfect house. We plan on living here forever. And then we find out that this is coming up. Well, like one of the gentlemen said, no transparency. We seen the sign a couple weeks ago, so we Googled it. The Hamilton Road location, they are like all fenced in. So they're stuck in there. They can't roam the roads. This drop-in thing, I'm concerned that it's gonna turn into like homeless community with tents, crime, everything else. Like, I would like to see the stats as well about what they've done and how are they gonna protect us. We shouldn't have to go get cameras and spend all of our own money to protect ourselves. Like, when my husband's gone, I walk my dog by myself, and I was just telling my neighbor, I don't feel comfortable doing that if there's gonna be at-risk youth or homeless youth or these drop-in people. Like, I shouldn't be scared in my own house and on my own streets. I should be able to walk my dog. There's tons of kids in our neighborhood. Like, how do I know that some of these people aren't in custody because they were having issues like touching kids or stealing? Like, that's everything that we all have to worry about. Like, there's so many kids and families that this is gonna really interfere with everybody.
Okay, thank you. Get your name either. Did you get?
Oh, no, I didn't get her name.
Could you get, ma'am, could we get your name and address again, please?
Tina Winkleman and 35 Freedom Crescent.
Okay, thank you. I may ask the lady to come back after that had done the presentation, but are there any other questions or concerns or opposition to this that you'd like to come forward? Please do so.
My name is Jackie Keach. I live at 122 North Murray Street, and I've lived there for 30 years. So many, many changes in the neighborhood, many that we've all tolerated. And this is just a bit more than you're willing to tolerate in your neighborhood. It's just a lot. I lived down the road from St. Leonard's before I moved to where I am now, and the police were there all the time. The police cars are there quite often. So it's not as cut and dry as you think, and it is a worry. And, you know, are we going to get our houses robbed and whatever, because we all know what it's like. And another thing is, I'm wondering, we do have a library that's totally unused for many, many years. Why wouldn't we donate that to something like St. Leonard's?
Well, the city does use that, if you're talking about the one on Dixon.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody there.
Well, it's being used at a city, I think, record storage place right at the moment.
We probably have many, many other places to do that, though.
Yeah.
that we couldn't give that to something like that.
Store at the church.
Yeah, store at the church all you want. I mean,
Okay,
we just want our neighborhood to stay safe.
yeah. Well, we don't own the church, so that's all I can say.
We want to
It's,
be safe in our own neighborhood.
yes, we understand, ma'am. Anyone else, please? Okay. Would the lady like to address any of these concerns? I know you've done the presentation, or sir, yes, come forward.
Good evening, gentlemen, ladies. My name is Chi Jin Biao. We come from Toronto because of this lovely neighborhood. But right now we hear something like this. This makes me very, very sad. Very sad. Because I have twin boys. They're 6.5 years old. Who is going to protect my boys? I'm working in a factory, shift work, at nighttime. Who is going to be there for my boys? Please, think about this. I'm really, really sad.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else, please? Kathy, would you like to come forward and address some of the maybe questions or whatever, please?
I appreciate that, and I appreciate all your opinions. You know, I think that unfortunately the signs went up sort of preemptively, and that was not meant to go that way. Like, I think you think that it's going to be a custody facility, and it's not. You know, it's people who are hopefully going to go to work and school and live their lives. We open an opportunity for the upper floor to just make sure people aren't sleeping outside in the cold. You know, if that's not something that you can tolerate, then that's a conversation for sure. I have to take back this. I mean, obviously, I can't address all your questions, but it's not meant to be a place where you're going to be afraid. And, you know, the police do come by Hamilton Road a lot, but it's because they drop kids off and they pick kids up to go to court every day, every day. It's not about we're causing grief in the community. And I get that maybe it's not this backyard or wherever backyard, but it is the ideal property. And I welcome anybody to come and sort of see how this lays out.
It's not an ideal property for us. It's not for us.
Yeah, I live in Trenton. I understand what you're
Would
saying.
you want it next door?
Well, I guess that because I'm used to it, yeah, it would be.
You'd be fine.
Yeah, I guess I would be fine.
The rest of us,
Yeah. I would love to address every question, but there was so much said, I need to just kind of process that. I'm going to leave my email so that they can, and please follow up and email me, and I'm going to try and get some more answers. It is just literally a home for independent living and trying to get people on the road. Short-term turnaround for some just need some skill to move forward, some might need a little longer time. It is not custody. There's no one there with a sentence, nobody to, you know, I mean, we're going to have cameras just because we think it's a good idea. We've always had camera systems. But
Is there addiction problems?
no.
There's no addictions?
Well, I'm sure we all have little things going on, but no, we're not, that's not who
But
we
do
are.
they have addictions when they come in? Is that why they're in, you know?
No,
why
so
do they-
like if they're leaving, it's used to be able to give a room to rent for a young man, you know, for $350 a month. That's $1,000 now, and you know, they just
So
can't.
it's just taking in homeless people?
No, I think what we're doing is we're trying to give a path forward. So if somebody wants to go to school, they need an address. If somebody wants to get into college, we'll try and get them on and then move them on to the campus.
Okay, so you're actually telling us that there's no legal issues there at all?
No, sorry.
There's not any legal issues for them, they're not being.
Well, it wasn't,
They're not in
we weren't
trouble?
planning to move one out of custody and bringing them up there. The idea is to have a process through Hastings County to interview them and find the right fits.
See, I'm hearing that there's even more unpredictability for me, because stating that there's no sentences, nobody's in custody, but you just finished saying the police are there on a daily basis.
No, our facility in Trenton.
They're constantly bringing people to and from court.
Yeah.
And
But that's
then
not here.
These kids, if there's not convicted yet, is even
No,
more
no,
of a concern.
they're not even,
So I think that's, I think because
Yeah.
you're addressing issues kind of
Yeah,
scattered,
yeah,
that you're
yeah.
making it, you're not really drawing a straight line. We're
Yeah.
kind of going like this,
Yeah.
which goes along the transparency line, I think.
Yeah, but absolutely. I have a proposal that I'm happy to share. Again, I will leave my email, send it, and I will send you the proposal.
Can I ask a question?
Councillor Quinte has a question for you, ma'am.
Kelly, can I just help out a little bit,
Yeah,
perhaps?
please, that'd be great.
Is St. Leonard's, are they just purchasing this property as a second, or I guess they've already purchased it, as a second location, and you're keeping
No,
the...
this is a brand-new idea, a new
So
pilot.
So the current facility that's on Hamilton Road, that's
Is
going to
custody
stay?
detention.
And the services that are provided there are
Are
going to,
different.
those are all going to remain there?
Yeah.
And then this facility that you've purchased privately, by the way, the city had nothing to do with the previous ownership. The city's never owned this property, and this facility was purchased on the free market.
Yeah, yeah.
You received funding from the
Hastings
Hastings County and the government of Ontario, if I
No.
understand. Just the Hastings County assisted with the purchase of this property. And then your guests that are going to come there, they're coming through Hastings County. So they
Could be, yeah.
they
Yeah.
approach. Is there another
Well, we'd like to
referral
keep it,
from another?
we don't want people coming in from wherever. We would like to keep it local.
I understand that.
Yeah,
so,
so-
besides Hastings County,
Could
is
be
there
a
another
referral from, you know, from downtown, say the business, just for example, the DBA might say there is somebody that's just kind of lost and needs some direction, and we would might,
And you're going to have an application
Yeah.
process
Yeah.
that these guests that are going to come to this residence, they're going to have to meet certain criteria before you even say yes.
yes, yeah.
And so this particular facility is completely different
Yes.
from the other location that's on Hamilton Road.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Councillor O'Neill, you.
No. No, absolutely not.
Before I move on, the last gentleman spoke. Could you give us your address? Secretary missed your address.
163 Nestor Road.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
When they leave,
Okay.
are they escorted, or is somebody with them, or they can just come and go when they
Yeah, they're adults. They'll be, well, 16 to 18, they'll be going to school, going to work. They won't be. No.
Please come
I would
forward
like 16
to ask the questions, please. So, because this is being televised, and ma'am, you can stay here to answer the questions, but this lady over here had your hand up in the middle there, please.
Just a fast question. Sorry, just wondering, like your clientele, do they earn the right to be there?
Could you get your name and address,
We're
please?
hoping-
Krista Pierce, 37 Freedom Crescent.
Okay, thank you.
What we're hoping to do is have a transitional space for people who's not quite ready to be independent, but some skill building and
not-
getting to school. They're not
forced to be there.
No,
They're not,
no.
they want to
Yeah,
be there, and
it's
if
their
they're-
commitment to be there, or we would move them on to.
Okay, so you
another-
would,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
And I mean, the upstairs would just be that, yes, there was, you know, someplace just a bed to be worn.
Councillor O'Neill, and then I'll move down to Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To alleviate some of the concerns, would St. Leonard's be willing to commit to dropping the drop-in aspect at this property?
There is
Commit.
no drop-in.
You just,
No, there's no drop-in. What I said, what I mean by coming in at night, there would still be a process to come and get that bed. You wouldn't just show up and say, can I stay the night? I'm sorry if that wasn't clear.
Councillor, or Mr. Brown, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few questions here. Yeah, unfortunately, like much of the audience tonight, I was a little confused over some of the things they were saying, and then kind of it seemed like you say one thing and then you kind of take it back. You say justice involved individuals. I mean, my brother's a cop; he's justice involved. I think that's a softer way of saying they have convictions.
Well, sorry.
Is that the case?
No, So here's what I want to sort of say is St. Leonard's has a custody youth facility, for sure.
Yes.
This is not that. This was to sort of take on the next step. Sort of, as they leave, if their sentence is over, their time is done, but it
Okay.
might not just be
So
them.
they are offenders. Is what that's what I'm trying to get at here, because I think that's the lack of clarity we have. So they're offenders who have been released from custody. But they finished the sentence. Okay.
It could be, yeah.
Okay, they could be. Okay, so but that's not
I'm
always
just
the
saying,
case.
I don't have anybody there that would step up at this moment, but, you know, maybe it is somebody who's leaving CAS care.
Right.
And they don't know where they're gonna go, or they have no skill, or they just need time to sort it out.
But it's open. Can we just keep this meeting, please, to the format it's in? I'm trying to ask the questions on your behalf. So if you're interrupting me, we're not going to get anywhere here. I'm just wondering, what are the parameters like if you are taking in people who have been justice involved? What are there parameters such as like like for violent crimes you're not taking people in, or what? Just tell me what kind of offenders.
And we don't deal with youth that do violent crime.
So what kind of offenders do you deal with then?
We're usually we're open custody, so it's usually breaches and it's sort of pettier crime.
But no violent crimes? No crimes involving
no knives, no weapons, no.
Sexual assaults,
No.
anything like that? Burglaries, thefts?
Burglaries, maybe.
Okay, because I mean, you do have to kind of see
Yeah.
where they're coming from here. So that's what I want to make clear here, because I think there's just a bit of lack of clarity. So at risk and also people who have offended. So being that, what type of supervision is offered? Is it around the clock the supervision, and so what kind of professionals
So
are we taking in to look after these people?
Yeah, we're going to have like sort of case managers for the youth downstairs that'll work their plan. We'll have a manager, we'll have 2 shifts of overnight staff that will be sort of a 12-hour, they will be there 24 hours.
Okay, and protocol for anybody
They
who
would be up, like awake staff.
right.
Yeah.
So there's protocol if a resident becomes problematic in the neighborhood then.
Yeah.
And what
We'll
is
have
that protocol?
policies and procedures to go along with that. As
Okay.
far as if there is an incident, how we develop and how that happens.
So do you have any insight into that we can maybe share with people here?
Basically, I think if somebody, you know, obviously hopefully we have the right mix in the house
Okay.
that we have brought in, that we've done our due diligence. But, you know, people will be people, and if we have an issue, then the staff will be trained in a certain amount of, self-protection and protection for each other and conflict resolution. And then if the police have to be called, I guess they would have to be called, but it would be a last resort.
Okay. How is there a term, like an extent of the stay? Like how long would be the maximum stay for these people?
We didn't want to put a whole lot of time limit on the fact that depending on where you're at, just as a human being, any kind of trauma, maybe it's just going to take you a while to get there. The goal is to set the plan from the get-go. I want to go to school, I want to go to trades, I want to go wherever. And then how we get you there and build up the skills and the confidence and move you forward.
Okay. Just a side note, is that on a transit route or close to?
It's on the bus route. There is a bus route, and it's probably about a 15-minute walk to town.
Okay. And I think this is covered a bit, but like local residents, we're not going to bring people in from other cities and things like that. That's not the aim. Okay. Is there a curfew?
It will depend. We would not have everybody out till all hours of the night, so we're saying 11 o'clock on the weekends, 9 o'clock during the week, unless they're working.
Okay. And what about visitors?
It would be planned, and it would be 2 at a time. So if you wanted to bring somebody in for dinner, for supper, you could do that.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm familiar with the neighborhood and this location. I know it well. I'm just wondering why there wasn't a public meeting and that some of these concerns could have been, right? Like, I'm just wondering because I read this agenda, and initially when I read it, this was the first I'd heard about this proposal, and I must admit that's the first thought that I had in my head. I anticipated a large crowd.
Yeah,
for the families that live there.
I guess because the property was already zoned residential, I guess we didn't see the issue as it was seen from the other side. And we didn't get any feedback from, you know, posted signs, so if we'd heard that, you know, this was as upsetting as it was, we could have certainly tried to do some preliminary. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking we would get some sort of notice before that there was, you know.
You didn't get notice.
We didn't.
Yeah, I know.
How did
About
we know?
10 homes in our area got actually notice delivered to the door. We didn't. We're at 27, and we never even got a notice.
Brian, do you have a comment here? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe I can. I think my comment is in relation to the context of this meeting, and I fully understand. And to be honest, I think we were as surprised as anybody that we did not receive any notification from anybody in the public prior to the public meeting. This application was advertised fully in accordance with the Planning Act. We didn't receive any calls, and that's fine. That's sometimes the way it goes. The conversation so far, and I understand the questions, but the conversation so far is around the operation of the facility, and that's fair, right? And I think just give me a second, sir. I think the applicant's doing the best to speak to that piece. However, this is an application under the Planning Act. This is the Planning Committee. Our concerns, our considerations are land use planning. The issue on the table for the committee this evening is this an appropriate use in a residential neighbourhood? Okay, this is a residential use. This is a home for people in a residential neighbourhood. I think there's been a few comments around it's not appropriate in a residential neighbourhood. I would have to pose the question, if a residential neighbourhood is not the appropriate location for a place for people to live, then I do not know where is. I think the unfortunate reality of all residential neighbourhoods, all society, all towns, is that there are people at risk, there are people with addictions, there are people who need help in all residential communities, most of whom don't have the support of a facility such as this, with staff, with the care system to protect them. There are people like that in those situations throughout all of our residential neighbourhoods. This is no different. The considerations for the committee this evening are, this is a residential use, and I think I was already spoken to. One of the issues on this property, one of the kind of notable features of this property is that it's already zoned residential. The residential zone already allows for a group home, as most residential zones do. That's part of the proposal here. The only thing on the table this evening is the additional use, the emergency housing piece. And again, there's a hint in the title, emergency housing. It's housing. It's somewhere for people to live in a residential neighbourhood. From a planning perspective, a land use perspective, well, I fully understand and fully expected some of the concerns. What we do not do under the Planning Act, and we are not permitted to do, is people plan. We do not plan towns, municipalities, neighbourhoods for how people act, what trouble people are in, what their experiences is, what their capacity is. We do not plan for that. We do not make approvals to that. We do it based on land use. This is a residential use in a residential neighbourhood, hence the recommendation to approve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, do we have anyone, please come forward, sir, at the back. Name and address, please.
Hi there, my name is Robert Warm, 173 Shooter Street in Trenton Ward. I just want to provide a little bit of or comment, just a little bit based on my own experiences and thoughts on this issue. I have several years of experience working in group facilities and was a foster parent for many years, including in group facilities in this community. I think one of the things that I wanted to say first is that it seems like this is a fantastic neighborhood. The fact that so many people from the neighborhood have communicated with each other and gotten together and spoken about this issue and come out to talk about it is a great indication of the strength of this neighborhood and the importance of community to them. So I do want to respect that absolutely. So hopefully my comments are not taken negatively. I do want to say that having worked in group care facilities in this community that are in existing residential neighborhoods for the most part, all of the ones that I've been in as a foster parent and as a worker in a group care facility have meshed into those residential neighborhoods in ways that most people don't even realize that they're there. The only time that it's ever come up as an issue is when those group facilities are coming to planning committees such as this one, where they're asking for an expansion or a change to the zoning on their property. So I do understand that people have questions and want answers around them, but I think that based on what I'm hearing from the people in this neighborhood and the community that they've created, I don't know whether this will be approved or not, but if it is, I can't really think of a better place for it to be, because the people in this neighborhood already have a community that could shift their understanding of what this is to accept this and for it to be a part of their neighborhood. And I hope that that can be something that they look forward to. I just want to comment on a couple of other things. There were comments about wanting to keep things the same. I think we've kind of gone through a phase in planning history where we had this exclusive zoning where we kept every use separated. But the reason that there was a church in this neighborhood is because traditionally we had mixed uses. So the reason that this property is there to be used for this is because we traditionally had mixed uses, and I think we're getting back to that. One of the speakers before talked about a daycare in this neighborhood, and that's something that was kind of like would have negatively been looked at one time, and hopefully that we can get towards more businesses in communities such as that. And one of the other things I heard was that we came here from somewhere else to get away from certain issues, and I moved to this community myself. I think that it's important to remember that Quinte West is not a refuge that can be preserved from the pressures that other communities face. I think that if there are issues that other communities are facing around addiction, around mental health, around affordable housing, or any of the other issues, they're going to be here too. So you can't expect to come here and avoid all of those issues. It's going to be a reality. And I would just like to echo something that Mr. Jardine said around the idea of, my apologies, that there are people that are probably already in this neighborhood that are facing the same issue. And my neighborhood and every other neighbor in all of our neighborhoods that are facing the same issues that the youth are facing that are coming into this facility. Yeah, so neighborhoods aren't like designed to be preserved in a state where they stay the same all the time. They're always changing. I've heard the comment that their neighborhood has changed. My neighborhood has changed. Every neighborhood changes. This is a reality that we have to work through. I think that the strength of the people that are in this neighborhood can be a strength moving forward if this facility is approved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sir, please come forward. State your name and address, please.
Gordon Din, 13 Ridgeview Lane. I just got a couple of questions. We've been talking about this for the last half an hour, 2 hours, or whatever. And this gentleman gets up, starts talking about what we should do, and this gentleman gets up and starts talking about what we should do. The lady herself, and I think she was very well spoken, but she said that all of their people would be trained in self-defense. That's what she said. So what about the kids and the other people living in this neighborhood? Should they be trained? Quite obviously, they didn't present a definite plan. They said, we think this, we think that. Well, that's not good enough for the people around there. I mean, we got questions, we got concerns. If anybody here would be in that neighborhood, I think you'd have the same concern. Whatever's going on here now, it's switching one way. These people stood up, definite concerns, and I don't think it's been answered. Just a point of view.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else would like to come forward at this time? If not, I will, sir, again, please.
It's Grant here at 57 Freedom again. I just want to say one more thing before you guys make your decision. but what I think we all got here during this meeting was hopefully, maybe, possibly, a lot of confusion. I'm hearing, could be, I'm hearing the words whole new idea. I'm hearing test pilot. I'm hearing residential neighborhood, and I see you have a smirk on your face. Thank you, sir, for appreciating what we're saying over here.
Sir, please be respectful
okay.
for one another.
I'm trying to be, but that was inappropriate, I believe. Anyway, so I won't use the term residential neighborhood. What I am going to use is a densely child-populated family neighborhood. And I don't believe that a test pilot should be taken in this neighborhood next to a daycare, next to a bus stop where the children get on and off. There's a reason they created test pilots, and it's because they go down. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to come forward and address the concern, please?
Catherine Beatty, 31 Freedom Crescent.
Okay.
I want to know why you didn't give us a long time to, like a week and a half. You're hiding something. That's how we feel. So, and it's already, well, it's bought. It's getting changed in the building. So to me, it's a done deal. So you guys don't care what we're saying. You're just doing it to save face. That's what it is.
This committee here, we didn't know anything about it until our staff presented it to us on the agendas that we have, and as our one member said that he has read it, and I've read it, and I conferred with the director, Mr. Jardine, whether there was any public comment, because I was surprised that earlier when that was circulated there hadn't been any, and I indicated to him, I think today and a day or so prior to this meeting, did we have any public input coming? And I presume, given the state of these applications that we've had before, it stirs a lot of concern in the neighborhood.
Yes.
And you're not unique. We had one last year in the west end of Trenton that's in a brand new subdivision that is established there. And there was concerns there, but it's there now. It conformed to the planning.
Yeah, but that means that we don't, doesn't matter what we say, you're
ma'am,
still
I
doing
can't
it.
say because I don't know what the feeling of my committee is here. The recommendation is yes to approve. And whatever this committee does, it will go to council. It's not a done deal tonight. So I can't tell you what the mindset's going to be or what the support's going to be. But
Okay, why weren't we told like months ago about this?
well, staff, maybe you have more insight into that. I can.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. As I said, this is an application under the Planning Act. The Planning Act is basically very prescriptive. It details exactly how we circulate, the timelines that we circulate. So that's the process we follow for all planning applications. So we don't have any leeway there. The notices go up on the date they go up prior to this meeting. That's all established under the Planning Act.
A week and a half?
20 days, I believe, is the full. March 1st was the date.
I think that's terrible.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions? If not, I'm going to ask the committee to consider the recommendation and consider whatever direction they want this to go. So, okay, thank you very much for your input, committee. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to highlight, we are hearing your concerns. That's what this is for. It did align with all of the standard procedures and legalities of an application. I understand the concerns. I mean, I got 3 kids myself. And I asked very pointed questions on your behalf. So I think we are hearing your concerns. We're not ignoring that by any means. But we also can't ignore the fact that, things are changing drastically. There are upticks in crime and homelessness and addictions and mental health issues. We can't exile people from our community who are experiencing those problems. They do need to heal from whatever ails them, and I think this is a good way for that process. I will say though that this is a pilot project. I mean, I think we're kind of seeing that it might be best for the agency to be a little more transparent, to approach the community, to be a little more proactive in that, to maybe alleviate these concerns ahead of time, or at least open that dialogue, because I think there are some people feeling like, this was kind of held from them, and I understand that concern, but I think maybe going forward, a little more proactive approach in the community, the specific neighborhood might be a decent idea. That's all I just wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Kosovas.
I would just like to ask the rest of the committee if they'd entertain a deferral, only so that the residents can have a lot of their questions answered before we move on with this.
Are you proposing that as a motions?
For, yes, committee's consideration.
Okay, have a seconder, Councillor Card?
I'll second.
Okay. There's no discussion on deferral. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. The recommendation is defer, and I'll leave it up to staff as how we proceed from here. And we'll keep you informed as to when the next time this will be coming forward. Brian, would you like to?
Yeah, thank you,
address
Mr.
that?
Chair. So anybody who's registered for the public meeting this evening by signing in will be notified before this comes back to the committee.
Yes. Yes. Make sure you sign the sheet, and certainly our staff here will notify you when it's brought forward again for consideration.
And Ms. Nolan offered up her email to answer those questions. That's what I'm hoping for, that your questions are answered before our next meeting and this gets proposed.
Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you. So St. Leonard's will have all their email, so they can email all the people with their concerns and their plans for it?
Yes, the lady, I think it's nodding her head yes. So.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your attendance. We appreciate it. Just wait a few minutes here till the crowd gets
She sent a letter to the councilors. I guess she wouldn't have seen it. I can forward it to you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
yeah, she sent all us, and she even said she'd set up a meeting that we could look at the building and she'd explain the operation, whatever. So, yeah. But it was done through her, not through the planning staff here. So, yeah.
Yeah, the part I don't get is this was a piece of private property. They're blaming us for a real estate trend. Makes me mad.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now I guess the crowd is moved on. We'll move on to the next staff report, which is 7.7, Staff Report 24-034 PD, Official Plan and Zoning Bylaw Amendment Applications. The owner's 10006000450 Ontario, Inc. The location is 41, 47, and 57 Stella Crescent. The file number is D09/T11/24 and D09/T12/24. Brian, I believe you want to address this, and then there'll be a presentation, but I'll let you do the introductions, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe, yes, if I can maybe invite Mr. Bennett to speak first on behalf of the applicant, is the applicant's agent, and then I can make any follow-up comments from there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Am I close enough to the microphone?
Everybody can hear you well? Okay.
Wonderful. Okay. Good to see everyone again. My name is Mike Bennett. I'm a senior planner at W&D Associates. I was last year for the same site. I am here in support of a revised application for official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment, the main purpose of which is to add additional stories to the building and additional units, and seek a reduction in parking as well, a parking rate, that is. I may skim over some of the earlier parts of this presentation. I'm sure some of these details are fresh in everyone's mind, but just in general, the site is located on the south side of Stella Crescent near Dixon Drive. And then in the wider context of Trenton is located just west of the Air Force Base within the east portion of the town. The existing use on site is a banquet hall. We also have two formerly, two residential lots that were formerly housing detached homes, which have since been demolished. substantial amount of surface parking as well to the south of the banquet hall. And then within the surrounding area, we have clusters of apartment buildings to the east and the west of our site. We're also located adjacent to St. Mary Catholic School, and to the north is Stella Park. These are the land use designations impacting the site. I will move forward quickly, however. We do have site-specific policies in place from our previous application, which we are seeking to amend. And again, the transportation context is unchanged. We're close to Dixon Drive, which is a major collector road. So what I'm here to speak to you today is the OPA seeking to revise, or I should say amend, Site-Specific Policy 33. Previously, the approved application allowed for apartment buildings with heights up to 9 stories and net densities above 50 units per acre. Our current amendment seeks to provide a maximum of 246 units and a maximum building height of 13 stories. I'll just note as well, I will show elevation plans. Despite the 4-story increase, the overall height of the building expressed in meters is actually very limited. And that's just on the basis of adjustments to the architectural plans, which I'll get into. And the revised zoning bylaw amendment does seek to increase the density expressed as minimum lot area. We're now seeking a minimum lot area of 43.1 square meters per residential unit. We're also seeking to increase the building height to 45 meters, whereas currently we have a approval at 42 meters. We're also looking to reduce the landscape open space very slightly from the current permission of 5.6%, the area of the lot, to 5.2. And the most significant change, other than the overall increase in residential units, is the parking reduction, providing a minimum of 1.01 parking spaces per unit. The overall supply of parking remains the same. The parking rate has been reduced as a result of the additional units. So this is our site plan. It should look quite familiar. It is essentially the same as what we had previously proposed and was approved by council. Again, surface parking occupying much of the west and south portions of the site. The apartment building remains essentially overlaid with the existing banquet hall. And if we need to revisit some of the site statistics, I'd be happy to. But again, just I'll note the quick, the most important factors here are the 13 stories being proposed relative to the 9-story approval, and the 3-meter increase in height as well. Again, the parking spaces remain at 249 spaces, with the parking rate being reduced. This is the ground floor plan, largely similar to what was proposed before. The lobby entrance is oriented towards Stella Crescent. We do have some residential units within the south portion of the site, and we have different clusters of amenity space throughout, along with bike storage as well. The floor plans for levels 2 through 12 are consistent. We're providing 50% 2-bedroom units among the overall supply of housing. About 45% are 1-bedroom units, and the remaining 5% consist of studio units, which I've indicated with the colored system there. And then the 13th story is largely the same with some minor differences as well. One change of note that does not really impact the application itself is that the mechanical system has been located entirely on the roof. Previously, we did have some mechanical systems located within a basement level. For a variety of geotechnical reasons, it's become apparent that it would be less feasible to develop a rental housing project with affordable housing with the extent of the underground fully excavated to provide a basement level, hence part of the change to the design. And these are the elevations of the north and south. Again, you see the lobby entrance to the north. Relative to the earlier application, each floor-to-ceiling height is generally lower than in the approved application, which accounts for adding 4 stories, but only adding 3 meters to the overall building height. And again, you see the elevations for the east and the west as well, to give you a bit of an idea of scale. And just to summarize, we're aware and are in receipt of the staff report recommending approval of these applications. We do support those findings and ask that the committee endorse this proposal. We're adding additional housing, including rental and affordable units to the site. We are within walking distance of employment opportunities and a range of services. The site is vacant and underutilized, which we seek to improve upon its current use. And we feel that this form of development is appropriate for the site as well in terms of its scale and density. We continue to provide mitigation of overlook and other compatibility issues through the use of our setbacks. And since we obtained the initial approval, we have also advanced our functional servicing and stormwater management analysis. And we do have sufficient capacity for sanitary and water, which has also been confirmed by Public Works. Likewise, the parking rate is supported by Public Works and is endorsed through our traffic impact study prepared by WSP Canada. So that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. And our client is here as well as our architect, should you have any specific questions related to them. If there's any transportation or engineering questions, we can certainly bring them back to our team and provide written comment back to staff and council.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Brian, from a staff level, would you like to comment on this application, and then I'll entertain any questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to the committee. I'll do my best not to repeat any of Mr. Bennett's presentation. But obviously, as the committee knows, when we do a review of applications, we run it through some various tests. We check it against the applicable policies in the provincial policy statement. As you'll have heard already, and I think is familiar to many members of the committee, some of the terminology area around efficient use of land, affordability, intensification. These are all targets under the PBS that this application meets, even in its renewed form. Under the official plan, I think I would just make the point that the high density designation was already established through the prior application. The way that our high density designation goes under the official plan is it's basically 50 units per acre and above, net acre and above. It doesn't have a cap on it, so this application, even though it's a significant increase, it still falls within that definition of high density under our official plan. There are a number of tests in our official plan around appropriateness of high density uses. So again, we've run the assessment based on the increase in unit size against serviceability, the ability for it to connect to obviously the collector road, which hasn't changed, and also the parking provisions as well, and I'll speak to that just in a minute. But we are comfortable that it meets the new proposal meets the intentions of our official plan policies and the provincial policy statement. Excuse me. As far as our circulation, our internal and external circulation process goes, as Mr. Bennett mentioned, there was a number of updated studies submitted to support the new application, the planning rationale, functional servicing study to assess the capacity of water and sewer services and stormwater management, and an updated traffic impact assessment. Those documents have all been reviewed internally, and we concur with the findings of those documents. Our water and sewer servicing consultant has confirmed that capacity exists both for water and sewer for the new proposal. Fire department have confirmed adequate fire flows, and also the Public Works Department have concurred with the findings of the traffic study, which again assessed all of the neighbouring road networks and assessed the additional vehicle volumes generated by the new development or the new proposal against that network, and have found that all of the surrounding infrastructure and intersections still fall well within a very appropriate level of service. So we're comfortable with that assessment. Conservation Authority have no comments, and the CFB Trenton, we obviously, predominantly because of the increase in height, we received an updated assessment from them, and you'll see in the details of the report we refer to a height maximum on the building of 45 metres, or more specifically 129 metres above sea level, and that's the consideration for the CFB Trenton in terms of obviously aircraft considerations, and the proposal in place would meet that that height limit. Again, we received no comments from members of the public based on this updated circulation. As far as the parking goes, definitely one of the main components for consideration in this revised application is a reduction in the parking spaces available per unit. And I'd like to just make a couple of comments there. Firstly, as detailed in the planning rationale and in the staff report, this is an urban location. It's well located with respect to the existing transit service, well located in terms of some of the major employment bases, North Murray Industrial Park and CFB Trenton itself, and very well located within walking distance to the commercial areas and some of the public service facilities. The other facet that I think is important on the parking is that this is proposed as a rental development. And as a result of that, the operator, the owner, has the ability to manage the parking numbers through the lease arrangement, very different from a freehold type arrangement where, you know, we build particularly in low density residential, and then we have no control over how many vehicles are being brought onto the site. The operator and owner will have control over the lease the lease of the apartment connected to an appropriate parking facility on site. The other thing I would mention as well, and some of the members of council will be aware of this, is we are also undertaking an ongoing research of our parking standards across the city, and that's one of the things we're doing to try and alleviate some of the parking obligations on new development. Parking is very often, particularly in urban areas where we're trying to redevelop and get the maximum residential use on a site, it's quite often the parking numbers are what restricts developments from moving forward or keeps them limited in terms of residential units. So we're assessing that right now, and while we're still fairly early in the research process, what we're finding is that it's very common for other municipal bylaws to have one space per apartment unit as the standard. Ours is currently 1.5. I think what we're finding is that our standard is a lot higher than what the norm is. So for those combination of reasons, I'm certainly comfortable supporting the reduced parking provisions per unit for the application. As Mr. Bennett mentioned, while it's a 4-storey increase in terms of number of stories, the actual increase in the size of the structure is very minimal at 3 metres. So that really the kind of technical comments. I think just as a kind of a summary, I would just kind of probably repeat some of the comments I made before. This is a significant development, and I think it's been definitely an interesting process going through this. This is the type of development that this municipality certainly doesn't see very often, if ever at all, in terms of the scale and the level of impact that it will have. I think it's fair to say that, and this committee sees this increasingly on a month-to-month basis. In fact, we heard it earlier on this evening, is we're living in an ever-changing world, and we're having to assess developments and proposals very differently than we did probably even 3 or 4 years ago, to be quite honest, but certainly going further back. This is a development that I feel very strongly we can support, that it does deviate slightly from some of our normal standards, particularly on things like parking, on its scale, but that's a good thing. I think one of the other facets of this development is the very fact that it's proposed as a rental accommodation. You don't have to dig very deep into some of the current statistics around housing need to find that rental accommodation, particularly affordable rental accommodation, is probably at the highest level of current need. That's where the greatest need is in this and many other communities. I think while this is one development, I think it offers the opportunity of significant change through one development, and those opportunities don't come along for a municipality very often. The proponent has been working diligently through this CMHC process in relation to both funding and assessing the rent controls on a portion of this property. So we have a level of commitment there that a proportion of the properties, the apartments, would fall within CMHC standards for affordable units. And that's a significant step forward for this or really any other municipality. So yes, this is a significant development. It's a significant change in the development, but certainly in the context of the world that we live in and some of the planning considerations that we have to bring to the table now, I'm certainly very comfortable in supporting this. I believe it does represent good planning in the context of the planning world as we know it today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to ask, are there any persons in attendance like to address this application, either in favor or opposition or general questions? Please come forward, state your name and address, please.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Robert Warm, 173 Shooter Street in Trenton Ward. This is the application that I actually came to speak on, even if I couldn't help myself on another one. I just came to be kind of hopefully reflect some of the community support for a housing development such as this one. I attended the first meeting where it was originally discussed, and I think it seems like the developer and the owner of the property have addressed some of the issues. They've added more units, I think, which is something that the community wants, more housing. I think I would add that what I heard at the first meeting is that there were a lot of discussions with parties from the base and Department of National Defense around the types of housing that was needed, and this certainly reflects that. It's in close proximity, so it will provide housing that's close to the base, close enough that active transportation is an option for many of those people. So I think that any concerns around the issues of parking have already been addressed by Mr. Jardine. And I think it's also important to remember that this was an event facility, so any concerns around traffic or parking, there aren't going to be the volumes of traffic moving in and out at specific times like there were before. So I don't think that should be an issue, and I haven't heard any concerns around that. So and the other thing that I would add is that hopefully communication continues with the base to as this project goes forward. That would improve active transportation through the base property for people that choose to live in this facility itself and in the neighborhood, that improves walking and cycling and other forms of active transportation into the base facility. And I think that more housing close to the Quinte area's largest employer is a great idea. I think one of the concerns that I hear quite frequently is traffic over the bridge at certain times of day. And I think that a large facility like this, I realize that it's long-term and could be a while before it comes to fruition, but decreasing the number of people that are driving over that bridge at certain times is a way of addressing that as well. Yep. Thanks very much.
Yep. Thank you for your presentation. We appreciate it. Anyone else like to come forward? I know a lot of our audience is left, but okay. Mark, would you like to come forward, please?
Mark Bateman, I'm part of the development team. I live in Brighton on 1 Loyalist Drive. I'm not going to add anything to it. other than I just wanted to touch on the affordability aspect, because we've heard it, the director mentioned affordability, and it come up on other agendas, and you guys probably hear it every meeting, affordability. I just wanted to touch on why we're back here again today. We're looking at the additional floors, and there's been lots of positive stuff. That is 100% so that we can achieve that affordability with the rising costs of construction fees and all the other stuff associated with it, changes to the CMHA funding stuff. It's added cost. Mike mentioned the mechanical had to go to the roof, and that was because of issues there, so that added cost. We are really have the goal of achieving that affordability, and we are going to achieve the affordability, and that is what's going to allow us to do this. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 59 units that are going to be at least $1,300 and less, and another small number of those just over 1,000, which is unheard of in today's market. So that's really the justification for going up there, because we don't want to lose our goal of achieving that affordability and just building something that you rent at market rates, and keeping in mind the market rates for Quinte West. I think when we checked into it, they don't have one for just this specific area. When they draw that, CMHA uses, or CMHC draws from Belleville, Quinte West, Sterling Rod, and Prince Edward County, so it's an inflated number. So we want to achieve that affordability, and that's why we're here today. We want to follow through on our commitment when we were here earlier.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark. Appreciate it. Okay, committee, you've heard the staff report, the presentation, and we have a recommendation to approve, and I would entertain any questions.
I'm going to
comments,
move the motion.
Okay, move by Councillor Quincy, second by Councillor Card. Any questions from the rest of the committee? Councillor Card?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yes, I strongly support the development. I won't belabor the points, but I did want to say a few things. I do appreciate staff's work on this. I think with the ever-changing planning environment we talk about quite often, and different provincial objectives and dictates, I think that in understanding the housing crisis that we're in, I think that finding a way to yes and getting to yes, understanding the planning obviously being a, how are we using the land, and not supposed to weigh some of these, socioeconomic factors, but insofar as those things are thought about, I mean, this is just good. It's going to be a great development for the city of Quinte West. And I, through the chair to Director Jardin, I had a quick question. Would this be the largest unit-wise, the largest build for purpose-built rental or otherwise in the history of Quinte West, would you say, in the 25-year history of Quinte West? Is that fair to say?
I think, Mr. Chair, I believe so, unless there's been something before that doesn't exist anymore. Of the fabric, the built fabric that we have right now, this is by far the largest, yes.
Okay, and I just to reiterate a question for the developer. 59 units is the goal for affordable, like the CMHC affordability definition, and as I heard you, that they would be between 1,100 to 1,300, or just over 1,000 to 1,300. Is that 1340? Okay, and would there be any less than that, or they would all 59 would be about around there, 1340? Okay. All right, and then 47. Yeah, that's wonderful. At this point, is the expectation that, I guess, if everything moves along as planned, what would be the expectation for this groundbreaking and potentially completion, if you so dare to answer something like that? What would the timelines be?
Yes, come forward so we can hear the reply.
So my name is Ali Kafai, the architect of project, and to answer your question, we already started working drawing, even if we didn't, we have to say, we're not 100% sure we can get this approval to start working on the permit drawing, so to just be sure to start the project as soon as possible. So hopefully in a couple of months, if we we try to fast track to permits it, so issue the permit for the approval to city. And there are obviously other things just like, financing, the things like that, which is out of our control, that I can't promise anything, but from our side, we do our best to move as fast, quick and as fast as possible to get the approval and everything's ready for construction. And the other thing I want to add to all of these numbers is just using the land, the proper land, because we have the land. If we don't build it here, we have to build it in other places, in the farm areas, the other areas. This is, I think, the best use of the land. This is about the sustainability, green architecture, using the proper material. You have elevators, so it doesn't change anything. Just imagine if you want to build another building, we have to provide another set of elevators, stairs, all of the things which is wasting material, which is not in favor of anybody in the city or in the world anyway, because it's wasting material. And the use of the land, again, if it's not here, we need this housing and should be in the farms or somewhere which is more valuable for using different way.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Brian, do you have any input as far as the process? I don't know, Councilor Card asked how fast does this go, but from the city's end of it, do you have a timeline that maybe you could give how it would proceed?
Yeah, as far as process goes, so while these applications are going on, obviously the working with the proponent, they're very keen and have been since the start to move this project forward really quite quickly. And one reason I say that is that while these applications are in process that are coming to this committee this evening, we also have the site plan control application, which is already underway, and there's a few technical issues that we're still working through, but very close to completion of that. That will then lead on to the, as Ali said, to the submission of building permits. We're already having a conversation around, given the scale of the development, staging the building permit, so a demolition permit for the existing building, foundation permits, and then moving into structure. So we'll work with the applicant to move that forward. Outside of that, it's in the hands of the developer. I know there's obviously there's a maze of the financial aspect to this as well, and working with CMHC that's also ongoing in parallel. So there's a whole number of things going on in parallel, but I definitely know from our conversations that the proponent wants to break ground on this very soon.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Brown, I think you had a question previously.
Thank you for the presentation and for the openness and everything. I think maybe around here, the idea of a multi-unit dwelling at such a large scale is maybe a little unfamiliar to residents in this community. I spent 8 years in Ottawa, though, one of Canada's largest cities, living in a high-rise. I like the apartment life. There's nothing better on a winter's morning than just sipping your coffee and looking down at the people who are shoveling their driveways out. Was it a good 8 years of never having to shovel? I really enjoyed that. To me, the problems, the challenges, I guess, we face for housing in this community, this, to me, is probably the most obvious answer. It's a great location for it too. Fully support it. I'm really encouraged by it. And I don't know if you saw the confused look on my face when you were talking about adding 4 stories at only 3 meters. But maybe I could talk to the architect after here about some tips on loading my family SUV when we go on a vacation, because I think you're squeezing that many units into so little space is excellent. But thank you all. This is, like I said, very encouraging, and I'm very happy to see this.
Okay, thank you. Committee, you've heard the presentation. We have a recommendation here to approve, and I would entertain a motion or any questions or comments. Okay. Yeah, do you want another question?
No, I'll move it.
Okay, move it.
No, I already did.
Okay.
I already moved it.
Okay, and Councilor Card will second it. Okay, got that. Any further questions or comments? If not, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Sounds great, and the affordability sounds good. I think it'd be a great, attractive site to attract residents, that's for sure. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll move on, and your comments regarding the applications and staff reports have been recorded and will be forwarded to members of council together with the minutes of this meeting. Council will make a decision to approve or refuse the stated applications at the regularly scheduled council meeting Wednesday, March the 6th. This is the wrong date. It would be April.
April.
Yeah.
Yay for humans.
I think the original date was back here, but I'll.
Was the next council meeting or the next planning meeting?
I think it was April, yeah, it's April 17th right there. So that's, we'll correct that. The regular scheduled council meeting, April 17th, 2024. Okay, there's further public input, none noted. 9 presentations, we have none. Delegations, we have none. Decision items, none. And we have item 12, printed information, 12.1 monthly planning reports. Zoning bylaw official plan amendment tracking, and then the committee site control minutes. And I would entertain a motion to receive both of them. And any questions, Mr. Edison, Councillor O'Neill, any questions or comments regarding those items? If not, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, if we have any requests for information, we'll go around the table. Well, Gerard, go ahead.
Question through you to Mr. Jardine. For the St. Leonard, the emergency housing, is that what brought that before us? That's the only thing. So the definition of that would, I need clarification on that if I could.
So the definition of emergency housing under the city's bylaw states emergency shelters or facilities that accommodate not less than 3 and not more than 10 residents and provides temporary lodging, board, and personal support services to homeless individuals in a 24-hour supervised setting for up to 30 days.
Thank you. Would that mean that if with they can progress now with the residents in the basement, they could progress with that?
Yeah, through Mr. Chair. Yeah, the group home aspect of this proposal is already permitted under the zone, so they can move forward with that. And I think that was probably part of the stress from the community. They've seen work happening in the building. But that's fine. There's nothing to stop that. The group home is permitted as a use. It's just the emergency housing piece that they're adding to the proposal.
I'd also like to add, thank you for the clarification, Mr. Jardine, for letting people understand exactly what we're here for. Appreciate your efforts.
Thank you. Councilor Kosovas?
Thank you. I would just like to request that it doesn't seem to be an issue at any other committee meeting except planning because we have such a large audience and I respect everyone's opinion. But if they could follow the same protocol as our council meetings, that a 3-minute timer appears there, if the IT department can provide that, and that an individual doesn't have the opportunity to get up twice. Again, if there's just consistency with our council meeting, it seems to run smoother, and then there's not the arguing, or I should say debating, within the audience.
Okay. Councilor Card, any questions, comments?
No, I don't have anything, but very happy to see the Stella Crescent project pass tonight.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Brown, have anything? Okay. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The last meeting with the developers for Stella Crescent, I believe they were looking at other land in Quinte West. And I know it's always cheaper to build a second, especially when all the equipment's here. So if you want to do 2, don't let us stop you.
Councilor Kuzi.
Hey, thanks a lot. So the development on Stella Crescent, like hallelujah, I probably can refer 12 people to you who are looking for places to live like right now, and before the weekend you'd have the other 59 already applicants looking. So but you probably already know that you're going to be selling, or not selling, but renting your facility out once you get it done in very short order, I imagine. In regards to the St. Leonard's application, I was given the impression by some of the guests here that the city had some future knowledge of St. Leonard's even purchasing this property, and I find that a little confusing that the citizens seem to be blaming us for a private transaction that took place, just the same as my neighbor's house could go up for sale and somebody would purchase it and move in and use it for a group home. I guess they could if they met all the conditions. So I found that a little stressful to hear comments from the guests who didn't really fully comprehend. So that's why I supported the deferral, to give St. Leonard's a chance to think about some of the issues that were brought up and give answers to alleviate some of the citizens, because I am going to support the applicant's request when it comes back to the planning committee, and think that this is a good thing for everybody. Even some of the people mentioned that they wanted to help. Well, one of the ways they can help is they can allow this facility to go ahead and have them do great work. This organization didn't just start yesterday. This organization has been operating for a considerable period of time, and they're giving me the impression that they know what's going on and they know how to operate, and I want to give them every chance to succeed. So I guess my only question to staff is, will this be able to come back to the next planning meeting?
Brian?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Good question. I think part of the issue now is, and this is just an opinion rather than knowledge.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't believe that the residents' concerns will be met or answered to their satisfaction, shall we put it that way. I think there's maybe some clarifications that St. Leonard's can place there, but I think, you know, the conversation, as we found, really, and understandably so, I don't think we expected anything different, very quickly got into some of the operational side of things, and this aspect of planning people and assuming that certain people are going to do certain things and reacting to that rather than the land use aspect of it. So what we will do is we'll touch base with St. Leonard's. We'll find out the right path to combine that so that they're not, you know, necessarily fielding 100 calls. I would like to think we can bring it back at next committee, but we'll have to see. We'll go through the minutes. We'll kind of identify all of the questions that were posed, have a response to them, and bring that back in that form to the committee. I can't commit to that for next month. It'll really depend how much backwards and forwards there is with St. Leonard's.
Okay, well, I live in a residential subdivision that's roughly 462 homes, if I have my count correctly. And in the last 5 years, we've had the OPP attend properties in my subdivision more than a dozen times for you name it. Neighbor disputes, crazy drivers crashing their cars, medical calls, pick any scenario, and the OPP have, and the fire department have been in my neighborhood multiple times for all kinds of different situations, and you know, it is what it is. So, and I don't foresee that the OPP are going to be in attendance of this property any way, shape, or form from the existing location that St. Leonard's operates, because these people that are going to be using the facility, they want help. They've applied for help, and St. Leonard's has offered to give them the help. And I see this as a steering or guidance to assist people who want help. They're going to get help for a period of time until they can stand on their own 2 feet, and then they're going to move on. That's the vision that was given to me from reading the letter that was sent, hearing what Ms. Nolan had to say tonight. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, we'll have to stay tuned to that, and hopefully we can come to some sensible resolution, we hope, down the road, because it's all those type of services certainly are needed today, unfortunately, and we have to accept that, and it's not getting any better or any easier, in fact. So anyway, are we hit any notices of motion? None noted. Okay, our next regularly scheduled meeting is for April the 18th, 2024. And I would like to thank two of my colleagues here. As you see, they're dressed up. They didn't come dressed up just for us. They were supposed to be at another function, and we were running very tight for a quorum, and I knew had the feeling this was going to be a bit of a tight meeting, and I hope we haven't prolonged it. I know you're missing a nice banquet probably, but I appreciate your dedication and attendance. So, and I'm sure everybody else does too, because other than that, we wouldn't have been able to carry on, and everything would have got pushed on to another month. So, and I want to thank staff again for their dedication. And I know sometimes that the audience were not happy with what they were hearing, and as long as everybody's respectful, we entertain anybody's position and what have you. So, without further ado, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Councillor Card and Mr. Edison, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.